Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another one, and this time I am bald. This is the new me. This is the new look. Remember what I said in the last video? I'm changing my ways, alright? And I know everyone talks about, oh, I date one and then never do it, but I'm actually about that action, okay? But today I got called the chocolate milk dud. Like, what a way to start my day off. But anyways, the big idea today is something that everyone knows about and everyone tells you, but it is actually not true. Now, everyone tells you, find your passion. Everyone says, find your lane, get good at one thing, and be the best at that one thing, 10,000 hours. Everyone talks about it. And I don't think that's true. I think the big quote that everyone talks about is, jack of all trades, master of none. But what people don't talk about is the other half of the quote. It's like they just leave it and they forget about it. They just like hearing the front end of the quote, but they don't hear about the back end of the quote. It's jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than the master of one. Now that will completely contradict the first statement, but people don't say that. And it's kind of funny because the last 2 years I've been kind of focusing on just one skill, just one specific skill to get good at. But what I realized is that as I was trying to get good at that one skill, it stacked up with multiple different skills. And a lot of the specialists, the ones who are actually specialists, the best of the best of the best, that spend 10,000 hours on that one skill, especially now with AI, it's becoming less of a need. Like, you don't need to be specifically good at this one thing, but if you're about 60 to 70% good at 5 different things, you bring more value because you are more whole. And especially when I'm running my business, I understand that there's multiple parts of the business that you need to be good at. And you don't need to be the best at it, but you just need to get good at it. And to get good at it, you just have to do it enough times where you kind of like understand what the hell's going on. And I feel like that stage alone is already far past what the beginner or the person who just started out. So everyone tells you find a niche. Everyone says, go ahead and pick a niche, pick a niche service, find your calling, right? Your calling. But what the hell does that mean, bro? Like, what does finding your calling mean? People don't talk about this stuff because they just like to say the cliches, like go find your passion and go find your lane, bro. Like, find your voice, you know? But like, come on, guys, like help us out here. Like the younger generation needs to understand that you don't need, especially now in the AI age, you don't need to be a specialist anymore. You can be a generalist and still be very good, as long as you're good at connecting different peoples and connecting the flow of traffic, okay? And what I notice now that I have a more open approach, less than just a closed approach, it also, it kind of paralyzes me, but at the same time, it gets me to get good enough at each skill so I can understand it. And then once I get good at that, then I can then outsource the other skills to understand to a specialist, right? A specialist is good if you want to be a cog in the machine, but if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be a generalist. You have to be a generalist. Because maybe you do have a special skill that you just have a knack at and you have gift the gab of it and you're just very good at it. Perfect. But still get good enough at other skills so then you can outsource or just delegate or do whatever you want to do with agents and stuff like that, right? And now I think it's more prevalent in the AI space, and especially in the AI industry where you have companies just slapping AI on their company and now they're getting valuated $1 billion. Crazy, I know. But the big thing is, and the big learning that I've actually realized in the past 2 years is that a lot of the cliches and a lot of the like best business practices are not actually are becoming obsolete, and the foundations are the same, but the form and the mechanisms to actually go about it are different. When you start with a CRO agency, or when you start with a cold outbound agency, you don't just do cold outbound. You need to post LinkedIn, you need to talk on different platforms, you need to go to events, you need to make your face out, you need to put your face out there, you need to talk to people, you need to understand the skill of sales, then you got to understand the skill of customer service, and then you got to understand the skill of hiring and delegating, and there's so much parts of it. And especially now with organic content and paid media and all these avenues where you can use these channels, you need to at least understand how they work. So in case of the time that comes where you need to use it or go do that channel, you can leverage your generalist approach and then have the AI or the person delegate it. And I know that may not seem ideal, especially now in the world, but I feel like the generalists are always going to win over the specialists now. Just because of the pure volume of people just trying to get good at this one thing and not understanding that everything works together. Like, think about how this water bottle, I know it's plastic, I'm not really a glass junkie or whatever, microplastics, yeah, okay, whatever. Think about this water bottle, okay? When the water bottle was created, okay, from the materials to the parts, and how did it end up on my desk, right? And into the store, and how did I buy it? There's so many hands, so many things that were made in the process of actually getting this water bottle to be made and then sold, and then also marketed, and then now I'm using it, right? So it's like you just want to get good at like labeling, right? Like that label, whatever. And you want to be the best at labeling, and no one else can stop you because you're the best at labeling. That is great, and it's okay, but I think when you're first starting out, you don't know what you're first great at until you actually do a bunch of shit. And then I do think there's still a world where specialists and generalists could coexist, but I want to say that the specialist, you'll never find what you're really good at if you don't try a bunch of things and you're not like very half decent at a bunch of things, because at that point you are more aware of the whole ecosystem rather than just one little thing, right? And I know people say niche down and figure out your niche and figure out whatever. Find wherever you can provide value and understand the full process end to end. Because if you understand the full process, like if you understand the sales aspect and the customer service, and you understand both sides of it, you can keep your retention up a lot higher. Rather than you have your sales siloed and you have your customer service siloed, and they're just not communicating and they're not understanding. And I think the role as entrepreneurs is to connect every single moving piece, rather than just having that one person that's just good at one thing. That is what society tells you. That is what the school system tells you. That's what they train you to become good at this one thing. You're not a machine. You're not a machine. Now you can do a lot of different things. Obviously, you can't do them all at once, but I would strongly recommend opening up your toolkit. Understanding, especially if you're in the beginning stages, understanding this business might not be the best business for me, but I'm going to try it, give it a shot, and then go ahead and try to add different aspects or try to go somewhere else and try to learn a different skill, and be willing to start at the bottom of the mountain always. Because I feel like that skill set alone would take you a lot farther than just sticking to one thing and then just always just sticking to one thing, and then you don't know about all the other possibilities. Maybe you're very good at speaking. Maybe you're very good at customer service. Maybe you're good at very good at developer. Maybe you're good at vibe coding. Maybe you're good at prompting. Very good. But you will never know until you try. And the jack of all trades and the master of none doesn't mean really what it is, right? And when you hear someone say jack of all trades, master of none, make sure to correct them and give them the last part of the quote. Because generalists are going to win in the age of AI, where things are going to be a lot more competitive. Things are going to be a lot more harder to present in front of strangers. And you really, really, really need to stand out by understanding the full process end to end. And if there's one takeaway that you can take away from this, takeaway, I should have never said takeaway twice, but if there's one thing that you should actually understand, is that what you're doing right now might not be what you're doing in the next 5 years. And I know it's like pretty standard to say, and that's pretty understanding, but like people think you are locked into this specific role or locked into this job. Like, you are not. And if you're understanding that things are a journey and all the pieces on the puzzle have meaning, and if you just focus on one part of the puzzle, you won't be able to complete the puzzle. So I just kind of made that off the dome. So if that kind of sounded pretty whack, whatever, it is what it is. But today's a little bit longer one. Hopefully you guys are doing great. I got the ball look, chocolate milk dud look, and rock on, guys.